My parents didn't charge me for my graduation party. They invoiced me. The email arrived at 6:47 a.m., June 3rd, subject line party expenses breakdown. Venue rental, $890. Catering, $1,210. Total due, $2,100. Payment terms, 30 days. My mother's signature at the bottom, above a Venmo request, for my own graduation. Meanwhile, the leather portfolio on her desk held my sister's wedding budget, $120,000 fully paid. By noon, I forwarded that invoice to our family group chat, 42 relatives. Attached my sister's wedding contract showing mom as primary payer. The math was impossible to ignore. I was billed. She was bankrolled. Someone's aunt screenshot the whole thread. 890,000 views by evening. Every guest they'd invited to both events saw the invoice. Mom's book club, Dad's golf league. Then the family group chat went silent, permanently. The acceptance email appeared on my laptop screen at 7:13 that spring morning. Subject line, "Congratulations from State University admissions." My hands shook as I clicked it open in my cramped dorm room, coffee going cold beside me. Full ride scholarship, academic excellence award, $45,000 over 4 years. I read it 3 times before the tears came. 4 years of 90-hour weeks, of choosing textbook rentals over meals, of falling asleep in library study rooms because my apartment had better heating there than in my bedroom. It had all led to this moment. I called my parents immediately. Mom answered on the 4th ring. "Kieran, it's 7:30 in the morning." "I got it, Mom, the scholarship. Full ride, I'm graduating debt-free." Silence stretched across the line, not the stunned, joyful kind, the other kind. "Oh, that's good, honey." Good, not amazing, not incredible, good. I was thinking maybe we could celebrate. Nothing big, just. "We'll figure something out. Listen, I need to call you back, your sister's awake." The line went dead before I could respond. I stared at my phone for a full minute, trying to decode what had just happened. Then it buzzed again. The family group chat. "Rachel, everyone. James proposed last night. We're engaged, ring red." The chat exploded. Mom sent 12 heart emojis. Dad wrote 3 paragraphs about how proud he was. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone flooded the thread with congratulations. My scholarship announcement sat 3 messages above Rachel's, posted 10 minutes earlier. 0 reactions. I set my phone face down and returned to the acceptance letter, trying to recapture that initial joy. It felt hollow now, like celebrating alone in an empty room. But I told myself I was being sensitive. Engagements were big news. Scholarships were expected when you'd worked as hard as I had. They were proud of me. They'd said so. Hadn't they? The doubt planted itself quietly, a seed I didn't recognize as dangerous yet. Later that afternoon, I walked to my campus job at the library. My shift supervisor, Mrs. Chen, noticed my red eyes immediately. "What's wrong, Kieran?" "Nothing, I got the scholarship I applied for." "That's wonderful, you've been working toward that all year." I nodded, unable to explain why wonderful felt so lonely. My phone buzzed during my shift. Mom, in the group chat, "Rachel's venue tour is tomorrow. Who wants to come? It's the Rosewood Estate, $15,000 deposit, but so worth it for our girl's special day." $15,000 for a deposit. I thought about my monthly grocery budget. $80. Ramen, peanut butter, day-old bread from the discount rack. The seed of doubt sent down its first root. That evening, I called my best friend Jordan. We met freshman year during orientation, 2 broke kids who'd bonded over shared financial anxiety. "Your parents really said good, just good." Maybe I'm overreacting. "Kieran, you worked 2 jobs for 4 years. You graduated summa cum laude. You earned a full-ride scholarship that most people would kill for. Good is what you say when someone tells you they found a parking spot." I laughed despite myself. When did you become so wise? Pre-law, remember, I'm learning to argue. We talked for another hour. By the end, I felt better. Jordan had a way of making me feel seen when my own family didn't. But that night, lying in my narrow dorm bed, I couldn't stop thinking about my childhood. About the promises my parents used to make. I was 14 when they sat me down after I'd won the regional science fair. Dad had gripped my shoulder, eyes bright with pride. "You're going places, Kieran. When you make it big, when you succeed, we'll be right there in the front row. Every milestone, every achievement, will be there." I'd believed him, believed them both. Mom had kissed my forehead. "You're our smart one. Rachel's got her social skills, but you've got the brains that'll change your life." I'd felt special then, chosen. Now, staring at my dorm ceiling at midnight, I wondered when special had become code for you're on your own. My phone buzzed one final T. Before I slept. Mom, in a private text, "Don't forget, Rachel's engagement party is in 3 weeks. Can you take the bus home? We'll be too busy setting up to pick you up." The bus ticket cost $47. My bank account held $63. I replied, "I'll be there." Then I turned off my phone and tried not to think about that leather portfolio I'd glimpsed on Mom's desk during winter break. The one labeled Rachel's wedding planning. The one that looked thicker than my entire college textbook collection. Understanding my family requires understanding the kingdom we lived in, and every kingdom needs a queen. Rachel was 26 now, 3 years older than me, and she'd worn the crown since birth. Not because she was cruel, she wasn't, but because my parents had placed it on her head before she could walk and spent the next 2 decades reinforcing her coronation. Dad, Marcus, was 56, an accountant with a corner office and a perpetual expression of mild disappointment whenever he looked at me. He kept his emotions locked behind spreadsheets and quarterly reports. Mom, Diane, was 54, a realtor who'd built her career on charm and persuasion. She wielded guilt like a closing argument and could smile while delivering a cutting remark that wouldn't register as an insult until hours later. Then there was Rachel, marketing degree from a state school she'd attended on our parents' dime. Pretty, personable, and utterly unaware that the playing field she'd spent her life winning on had been tilted in her favor since day one. And me, Kieran, the scholarship kid. The one who'd learned early that love in our family was a finite resource, and I wasn't the preferred investment. The pattern started small. Age 10, Rachel wanted dance lessons, $300 a month, plus recital costumes that cost more than my entire school wardrobe. Mom enrolled her immediately. I asked for a library card, free. "See," Mom had said, ruffling my hair. "You're so resourceful, Kieran, you don't need expensive hobbies." Age 14, Rachel's 16th birthday party, rented venue, DJ, catered food, guest list of 80, budget $8,000. My 16th birthday, dinner at Olive Garden with the 4 of us, budget $40. "You're not really a party person," Dad had reasoned. "Rachel thrives on that social energy, you're more low-key." I'd nodded because what else could I do? Tell them I wanted to feel celebrated too. That would have made me seem ungrateful. Age 18, Rachel's college decision day. Parents took a week off work to tour campuses with her. They visited 7 schools across 3 states. She chose the one with the best Greek life. Tuition, $28,000 per year. They paid it without flinching. My college decision day happened via email acceptance letters I read alone in my bedroom. I chose State University because of the scholarship opportunities. "We're so proud of you for being financially responsible," Mom had said, as if I'd chosen poverty as a personality trait instead of having it chosen for me. Age 20, Rachel's graduation gift. A car, Honda Civic, pre-owned but reliable, $15,000. My graduation gift, the one I was currently 3 weeks away from receiving, remained to be seen. But I wasn't optimistic. Throughout my college years, the disparity only sharpened. Textbook money, can't you rent them or use the library copies? I did. While Rachel posted Instagram stories from spring break trips to Cancun funded by Mom and Dad's generosity. Apartment deposit, you have that campus job, don't you? I did, 20 hours a week at $12.50 an hour. It paid for groceries, phone bills, and the constant anxiety of checking my bank account before every transaction. Meanwhile, Rachel lived in a downtown apartment with her fiancé, James. Rent, $1,800 a month. Mom and Dad covered Rachel's half as a helping hand while she builds her career. I ate ramen in a shared apartment with 3 roommates, and a bathroom situation I tried not to think about too hard. But I survived. More than survived, I thrived. GPA 4.1, Dean's List 6 consecutive semesters, academic awards 4, scholarship earned $45,000. I'd worked for every single achievement, while watching Rachel's accomplishments get handed to her like participation trophies. By my senior year, graduation felt like the finish line of a marathon I'd run with weights strapped to my ankles. I'd made it, against odds that my parents had somehow increased instead of easing. 3 months before graduation, I sent the invitation. Physical card, cream-colored cardstock, printed in elegant script. You are invited to celebrate Kieran Moss's graduation from State University. May 15th, 2:00 p.m., University Stadium. I mailed it with a handwritten note. I hope you'll be there. It would mean everything to me. Mom texted back within an hour. Of course we'll be there, honey. Wouldn't miss it. Read. I saved that text message. Read it whenever doubt crept in during those months of exams and thesis defenses. They'd be there, front row, like Dad had promised when I was 14. I was still naive enough to believe that some promises, even in my family, were sacred. Then the email arrived at 6:47 a.m. on graduation morning, and I learned exactly how sacred I was to them. About as sacred as a billing statement. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. on graduation day. Not from an alarm, from anxiety that had been building for weeks, crystallized now into an electric current running through my chest. Today was the day. The culmination of 4 years of sacrifice, and they'd be there to see it. I made coffee in the dark, hands trembling slightly as I poured water into the machine. My apartment was quiet. My roommates had graduated last semester. I'd stayed through spring to finish my thesis. Outside, the sky was just beginning to lighten. May 15th. I'd circled this date on my calendar in red ink 8 months ago. My laptop was still open on the kitchen counter from the night before. The screen had gone dark, but when I touched the trackpad, it blazed to life. One new email. Sender, Kieran Moss. Subject, party expenses breakdown. My stomach dropped before I even clicked it. The email was professional, eerily so, formatted like the invoices Dad's accounting firms sent to clients. Clean columns, itemized list, a total at the bottom in bold. Graduation party expenses. Venue rental, Riverside Community Center, $890. Catering, Giovanni's, 30 guests, $1,210. Decorations and supplies, $140. Total due, $2,100. Payment terms, due within 30 days of event date. Please remit via Venmo, at Kieran Moss Real Estate. Below the invoice, Mom's digital signature, professional, legally binding. Thank you for your understanding. We're so proud of you. My coffee mug slipped from my hand. It shattered against the tile floor, dark liquid spreading like an accusation. I read the email again, then a fourth time, hoping the words would rearrange themselves into something that made sense. They were billing me for my own graduation party, a party I hadn't asked for, a party they'd insisted on hosting. $2,100. I thought about Rachel's engagement party last month. Ice sculpture, open bar, live band, at least 200 guests. Mom had posted photos with captions about sparing no expense for our special girl. I thought about Rachel's wedding venue deposit, $15,000. Mom's Venmo transaction, public, with heart emojis. I thought about the Honda Civic, the apartment rent, the spring break trips. $2,100, itemized, due in 30 days. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. I called Jordan. It's 5:45 in the morning, he mumbled. They invoiced me. What? My parents, they sent me an invoice for my graduation party, $2,100. Silence, then, I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm already getting dressed. He arrived 20 minutes later with coffee from the 24-hour convenience store and a fury in his eyes I'd never seen before. Show me. I turned my laptop toward him, watched his expression shift from confusion to disbelief to rage. Kieran, this is insane. Maybe they just want to teach me financial responsibility. By charging you for a party you didn't ask for, while they paid $120,000 for Rachel's wedding. The number hung between us. I hadn't said it out loud yet, but Jordan knew. Everyone in my family knew what Rachel's wedding cost. Because Mom posted about it constantly. I have to get ready, I said quietly. Ceremony starts at 2. Are you still going to the party? I looked at him. What choice do I have? Jordan's jaw tightened. You always have a choice. But at 23, broke and desperate to believe my family loved me despite all evidence to the contrary, I didn't feel like I had choices. I felt like I had obligations. The graduation ceremony passed in a fog. I walked across the stage, accepted my diploma, smiled for the photographer. Around me, families screamed and cheered. Flowers flew through the air. Someone's grandfather cried. My parents sat in the back row. I spotted them during the recessional. Mom waved. Dad gave a thumbs up. They left before the ceremony ended. The party was at Riverside Community Center, a venue I'd never chosen. 30 people attended, mostly my parents' friends, a handful of distant relatives, Jordan and 2 of my college friends who came out of loyalty. Rachel held court in the center of the room, her engagement ring catching the light as she gestured through some story. People laughed. Someone handed her a glass of champagne. I stood near the cake, small grocery store sheet cake with "Congrats Kieran" in blue frosting, and felt like a stranger at my own event. Mom approached with her phone out. Smile, honey, let's get a photo for the family chat. I smiled. She posted it immediately. As guests mingled, I noticed Mom's leather portfolio on a chair near the gift table. She must have brought it by accident. It had fallen open. Inside, papers, contracts, vendor receipts. And one page, printed on ivory cardstock, Rachel's wedding budget final. I glanced around. No one was watching. I pulled the page out. $119,847, fully funded. Every vendor marked paid in full. Mom's name on every contract, primary payer. Beneath the wedding budget was another document, a bank statement, Mom's personal account. Monthly transfer, $15,000 to Rachel's account, for 18 months. My vision blurred. They'd been funding Rachel's entire adult life, while sending me invoices for my own graduation party. I folded the papers, slipped them into my bag. Then I walked out of Riverside Community Center and drove home with $2,100 in debt and a fire building in my chest that would burn down everything I thought I knew about family. I didn't sleep that night. The papers from Mom's portfolio sat on my kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene. Rachel's wedding budget, the bank statements, Mom's signature on every page. $119,847, fully funded. $2,100, invoiced to me. At 2:00 a.m., I made tea I didn't drink and stared at those numbers until they blurred. By 6:00 a.m., I'd convinced myself I was overreacting. Parents were allowed to spend money however they wanted. Rachel was getting married. Weddings were expensive. I was being selfish. By 6:30 a.m., I'd read the invoice again and remembered I wasn't selfish. I was billed. Jordan texted at 7, "You awake?" Never went to sleep. "Come over, bring the documents." I drove to his apartment with the portfolio papers in a manila folder. He answered the door in sweatpants and a university hoodie, coffee already brewing. "Show me everything." I spread the papers across his kitchen counter. Wedding budget, bank statements, vendor contracts, the invoice. Jordan studied each page in silence. His jaw tightened with every document. "Kieran, look at this bank statement date." I leaned closer. The statement was from Mom's personal checking account 3 months ago. A transfer, $15,000. Memo line, Rachel Wedding Fund. Okay, so she gave Rachel money for. Look at the other statements. I flipped through them. February, $15,000 transferred. January, $15,000 transferred. December, $15,000 transferred. My stomach turned. How many statements are here? I asked quietly. Jordan counted, 18 months worth. 18 months, $15,000 per month. $270,000 total. The number hit me like a physical blow. That can't be right, I whispered. That's not possible. Where would they even get that kind of money? Jordan's expression darkened. That's not the question you should be asking. What do you mean? The question is, where did your college fund go? I stared at him. I didn't have a college fund, I had scholarships. Are you sure about that? The question opened something inside me. A memory, distorted and distant like looking through foggy glass. I was 10 years old. My baptism. Godparents I barely remembered, elderly and kind, pressing an envelope into Mom's hands. For Kieran's education, they'd said, we want him to have opportunities. Mom had smiled, kissed my forehead. We'll put it somewhere safe. I'd never thought about it again. I need to check something, I said, already pulling out my phone. Check what? Baptism records, godparents, anything that proves that money existed. Jordan handed me his laptop. Start with your parents' house. Do they have a home office? They did, Dad's study. File cabinets I'd never been allowed to touch. But I had a key to their house, for emergencies. I looked at Jordan. I can't just break into their house. You're not breaking in, you have a key. And you're not stealing, you're investigating potential financial fraud involving your own money. Pre-law Jordan was terrifying. What if they catch me? They're at Rachel's venue tasting until 4. You have 6 hours. I sat there, hands trembling around my tea mug, staring at those bank statements. $270,000 to Rachel over 18 months. $2,100 invoiced to me for a party I didn't ask for. Something wasn't adding up. Something was very, very wrong. And if there had been money set aside for me, money I'd never seen, I needed to know where it went. Okay, I said quietly, let's go. Jordan grabbed his keys. I'm driving, you're too angry to be behind a wheel. He wasn't wrong. On the drive to my parents' house, I kept thinking about that baptism. About godparents whose names I couldn't even remember. About an envelope thick with promises. We'll put it somewhere safe. Safe? I was about to find out exactly how safe my mother's promises were. My parents' house looked the same as always. Cream siding, manicured lawn, the kind of suburban perfection that belonged on a realtor's website. Mom would appreciate the irony. I unlocked the front door with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Jordan followed me inside, quiet and alert. Where's the office? Upstairs, last door on the left. We climbed the stairs like burglars. Even though we had every right to be there, the office door was closed but unlocked. Inside, everything was meticulously organized. Dad's domain, file cabinets labeled by year and category, a desk with nothing out of place. Where do we start? Jordan asked. Financial records, personal accounts. The file cabinet was locked. Of course it was. Do they keep a spare key anywhere? I thought for a moment, then walked to Dad's desk, opened the top drawer, pens, paper clips, a calculator. Second drawer, checkbooks, stamps, envelopes. Third drawer, a small metal box. Inside the box, keys. I tried 3 before one clicked the file cabinet open. The files were organized by year. I pulled out the folder labeled Personal Banking Recent. Bank statements, Chase, Wells Fargo, a credit union I didn't recognize, all under my parents' names. I flipped through them, scanning transaction histories. Then I found it. An account I didn't recognize, Heritage Credit Union, joint account holders, Marcus Moss and Diane Moss. But the account title made my blood freeze. Kieran Moss Educational Trust. Jordan leaned over my shoulder. Oh my God. My hands were shaking so hard, I could barely hold the paper. The account had been opened 18 years ago. Initial deposit, $10,000. Additional deposits over the years from my godparents, grandparents, even distant relatives for birthdays and holidays. By the time I turned 18, the balance was $23,480. I flipped to the next statement, age 19. Balance, $23,480. Age 20. Balance $0. They emptied it, I whispered. Jordan took the statement from my hands and read the transaction history. One withdrawal, full amount, $23,480. Date, August 2019. Memo, transfer to Diane Moss personal checking. The same month Rachel started grad school. Check the next statements, Jordan said urgently. I pulled out Mom's personal checking statements from that same month. There it was, deposit, $23,480. Source, Heritage Credit Union. And 3 days later, a payment, $23,480. Payee, Valley State University tuition payment. They used your college fund to pay for Rachel's grad school, Jordan said, his voice barely controlled. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. They de-stolen from me, not borrowed, not reallocated, stolen. Money that had been set aside specifically for my education. Money given by people who'd wanted me to have opportunities. Money I'd never even known existed. And they'd given it to Rachel. This can't be legal, I finally managed. It's not, they were trustees. Using trust funds for another beneficiary is fraud. My vision blurred. I sat down hard in Dad's office chair. $23,480. I thought about my student loans. $18,000. I'd graduated with $18,000 in debt because I couldn't cover everything with scholarships and part-time work. If they'd given me my own money, I would have graduated debt-free. Instead, they'd taken it, liquidated my future, handed it to Rachel like it was theirs to give. And this was the part that made my stomach turn, they'd invoiced me $2,100 for my graduation party. I need copies of everything, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Jordan was already pulling out his phone. I'm photographing every page. We spent the next hour documenting everything. The trust account statements, the transfer records, Mom's checking account showing the tuition payment, every piece of evidence that proved what they'd done. When we finished, I carefully returned everything to its original place, locked the file cabinet, put the keys back. As we walked out of that office, I wasn't the same person who'd walked in. I was someone who'd just discovered that the people who were supposed to protect me had robbed me instead. And I was going to make sure everyone knew it. I didn't go home after leaving my parents' house. I drove to the state park on the edge of town, parked in an empty lot, and sat there with my hands on the steering wheel until Jordan finally spoke. Talk to me. I'm trying to figure out when it started. When what started? When they decided I didn't matter. Jordan's expression softened. Kieran. No, listen. The trust fund was emptied 18 months ago. August, 3 years back. That's when I was starting my junior year. I pulled out my phone and opened my calendar app, scrolling back through years of entries. What are you doing? Building a timeline. I started writing, events I'd logged, memories I'd tried to forget. August, junior year, asked parents for help with textbook costs. $400, they said no. Budget was tight. That same month, they withdrew $23,480 from my trust fund. September, junior year, invited them to my academic awards ceremony. Dean's List reception. They said they couldn't make it. Rachel had a work event. I checked Rachel's Instagram from that date. Photos at a wine tasting. Mom and Dad in the background, laughing. October, junior year, asked if they could help with winter coat. Mine had a broken zipper. Mom said I should learn to budget better. That same month, bank statement showed $15,000 transfer to Rachel for wedding planning startup costs. The pattern stretched across 18 months like a map of betrayal. November, I worked double shifts during Thanksgiving break. They spent the holiday with Rachel looking at wedding venues. December, I asked to borrow their car to drive to a job interview 2 hours away. They said Rachel needed it for cake tastings. January, my laptop died, essential for my thesis work. I asked if they could help with a replacement. $600, they said I should have saved better. That same week, $15,000 to Rachel's account. February, I got the flu, couldn't afford urgent care. Jordan's mom took me to the clinic and paid the copay. That same month, Rachel posted photos from a spa weekend. Caption, Thanks Mom and Dad for the pre-wedding relaxation. March, I won a scholarship competition, $5,000 award. I called to tell them. Mom said, "That's nice, honey," and hung up to take Rachel's call about floral arrangements. Every month, every milestone I'd achieved alone. Every time I'd struggled while they funneled money to Rachel. For 18 months, they'd made a choice. Every single month, they'd chosen her. Jordan was reading over my shoulder, his jaw getting tighter with each entry. "This isn't favoritism anymore," he said quietly. "This is systematic financial abuse." The words hung in the car. Abuse. I'd never thought of it that way. I'd called it favoritism, inequality, unfairness. But abuse? That word felt too heavy, too serious. Except it fit. "They didn't just prefer Rachel," Jordan continued. "They actively punished you. While funding her life, they made yours harder on purpose." "But why?" My voice cracked. "What did I do?" "Nothing, you did nothing. This isn't about you, Kieran, it's about them." I thought about every time I'd questioned myself. Every time I'd wondered if I was being too sensitive, too jealous, too ungrateful. Every time they'd made me feel like the problem was my perception, not their actions. "I defended them," I whispered. "When friends asked why they never came to my events, I made excuses. I said they were busy. I said they were proud of me in their own way." "You were trying to survive." I was lying to myself. Jordan reached over and gripped my shoulder. "What do you want to do?" I looked at the timeline on my phone. 18 months of evidence. 18 months of choosing Rachel over me, over and over and over again. And then, after all of it, they'd sent me an invoice. For my own graduation party. Like I owed them for the privilege of being their son. Something shifted in my chest. The hurt hardened into something sharper, something with edges. "I want a lawyer," I said. Jordan nodded. "I know someone, my mom's colleague, family law specialist." And then we make them answer for what they did. I saved the timeline, backed it up to 3 different cloud services. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about 18 months of proof that I'd never mattered to them the way Rachel did. And I was done pretending that was okay. Jordan's apartment smelled like coffee and old textbooks. We sat at his kitchen table with my laptop between us, the evidence files open on the screen. I'd called him an hour ago, voice shaking, asked if I could come over. He said yes before I finished the sentence. Now he stared at the bank statements, the trust fund records, the timeline I'd built. His expression shifted from confusion to disbelief to cold fury. "They stole from you," he said finally. "Technically, they were trustees. Maybe they had the right to." "Kieran, stop." I closed my mouth. Jordan leaned forward, his voice steady and serious. "Listen to me. What they did is not legal. Trust funds have designated beneficiaries. That money was set aside specifically for your education. They had a fiduciary duty to use it for you and only you." "But they're my parents. Don't they have some kind of—" "No," he cut me off again. "Parents don't get to steal from their kids just because they're related. This is fraud, financial abuse, and it's prosecutable." The words settled over me like a weight. Fraud, financial abuse, prosecutable. "I don't know if I can do this," I whispered. Jordan's expression softened. "Do what?" "Go after them, legally. They're my parents. They invoiced you for your own graduation party while using your college fund to pay for Rachel's tuition. What part of that sounds like parenting to you?" I didn't have an answer. "You're not overreacting," Jordan continued. "You're not being dramatic. You're not being ungrateful. You are the victim of systematic financial abuse that went on for 18 months and probably longer if we dig deeper. You sound like a lawyer." "I'm in pre-law. This is what we do," he smiled grimly. "And my mom is a lawyer, a very good one who specializes in family law." "Jordan, I can't afford." "She'll do it pro bono. I already texted her." I stared at him. "You what?" "While you were in the bathroom, I sent her the summary. She's furious. She wants to meet you." I don't know what to say. Say you'll fight back. Say you won't let them get away with this. I looked at the evidence on the screen. $23,480 stolen. $270,000 given to Rachel over 18 months. $2,100 invoiced to me. The math was undeniable. What if they deny it? I asked quietly. They can't, you have documentation. Bank records don't lie. What if the family sides with them? Then the family is wrong, and you'll find out who actually cares about you. I thought about that. About extended family who'd watched Rachel get everything while I struggled. About relatives who'd smiled through it all, said nothing, acted like the disparity was normal. Maybe I needed to know who'd stand with me. Maybe I needed to stop protecting people who'd never protected me. Okay, I said finally, I'll meet your mom. Jordan's shoulders relaxed. Good, she's free tomorrow afternoon. That fast? She cleared her schedule. Like I said, she's furious. I managed a weak smile. Remind me to never get on her bad side. Too late, she already considers you family. Jordan reached across the table and gripped my hand. We're going to fix this, Kieran, I promise. For the first time since opening that invoice, I felt something other than despair. I felt hope. And beneath it, something sharper. I felt angry. The kind of anger that didn't burn out. The kind that built foundations. Thank you, I said quietly. Jordan squeezed my hand. That's what family does, real family. Claire Feldman's office was downtown, tucked between a coffee shop and a bookstore. The sign on the door read, Feldman and Associates Family Law. Jordan's mom. I'd met her twice before at university events. She'd always been kind, warm, the type of person who remembered details about your life and asked follow-up questions. Now she sat across from me in a conference room, reading through the evidence I'd brought, and her expression was glacial. This is one of the clearest cases of trustee fraud I've seen in 20 years of practice, she said finally. My stomach dropped, so it's really illegal. Absolutely illegal. She looked up at me, her eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. Kieran, your parents were trustees of an educational trust established for your benefit. They had a legal obligation to use those funds exclusively for your education. Instead, they liquidated the entire trust and transferred it to themselves, then used it to pay for your sister's tuition. Can they claim it was a mistake? Not with this documentation. The memo lines are explicit. The transfer was deliberate. She tapped the bank statement. And the timeline, monthly transfers to your sister over 18 months while denying you basic financial support, establishes a pattern of discriminatory financial abuse. There was that word again. Abuse. What are my options? I asked quietly. Claire leaned back in her chair. You have two main paths, civil or criminal. What's the difference? Civil means you sue them for restitution. You'd file a lawsuit seeking repayment of the stolen trust, funds plus damages for emotional harm and financial hardship you suffered as a result. Civil court has a lower burden of proof, and you'd likely win a judgment. And criminal. Criminal means you file a police report for fraud or embezzlement. The district attorney decides whether to prosecute. If they do, your parents could face criminal charges, possible jail time, and a permanent record. My hands were shaking. How long would either option take? Civil lawsuit, 6 to 8 months if they don't contest it, longer if they fight. Criminal investigation could take anywhere from 3 months to a year, depending on the DA's caseload. How much would it cost? Claire's expression softened. For you, nothing. I'm taking this pro bono. I can't let you. Yes, you can. Jordan told me what happened, what they did to you. Her voice hardened. I'm not letting parents get away with stealing from their child and then billing him for his own graduation party. That's unconscionable. I felt tears burning behind my eyes. What do you recommend? I managed. Start with civil. File a lawsuit for the trust funds, the invoice amount, and emotional damages. If you want, we can also file a police report to create a paper trail. That might pressure them to settle quickly. What if they try to deny everything? They can't. You have their bank records, their signatures, the trust documents. This isn't a he said, she said situation. This is documented fraud. I sat there processing. My parents, the people who'd raised me, who had spent 23 years trying to please, were about to be sued by their own son. I need to think about it, I said quietly. Of course, take the time you need. Claire slid a business card across the table. But Kieran, don't wait too long. There are statutes of limitations. And the longer you wait, the more they'll think they got away with it. I took the card. By the time I left her office, I'd made my decision. I wasn't thinking anymore. I was acting. The next 3 weeks blurred into a systematic excavation of evidence. I started with emails, years of them. Every interaction with my parents stored in my Gmail account, organized by year and sender. I searched keywords: money, help, Rachel, graduation, wedding. The results were damning. Junior year, September. Hi Mom, textbooks this semester are $400. Can you help? Mom's response: we're stretched thin right now, honey. Can you find used copies? That same month in the family group chat, Rachel needs $6,000 for wedding dress alterations. We're so happy to help our girl. Junior year, November. Any chance you could help with my winter coat? The zipper broke and I can't afford a new one. Dad's response: you need to learn to budget better, Kieran. We can't keep bailing you out. 1 week later, Rachel's Instagram post: surprise spa weekend courtesy of Mom and Dad. Best parents ever, read. I screenshot everything, created a folder titled Evidence Parental Communication, organized by date and category. Then I went through my bank records. Every overdraft fee I'd paid because I couldn't afford groceries, every declined transaction, every desperate transfer from savings to checking. I'd been drowning financially while they funded Rachel's champagne lifestyle. Jordan helped me build a spreadsheet. 3 columns: date, my financial request, Rachel's financial gift. The disparity was staggering. Over 18 months, I'd asked my parents for help 5 times. Total amount, $2,200. They'd given me $0. Over the same 18 months, they'd transferred $270,000 to Rachel. The ratio was so absurd it looked like a typo. This is going to destroy them in court, Jordan said, staring at the screen. Good. He glanced at me, surprised by the venom in my voice. I didn't apologize for it. Next, I gathered physical evidence. The graduation invoice, printed and saved in triplicate. Rachel's wedding budget from Mom's portfolio, photographed from every angle. The trust fund documents, copied and notarized. Claire Feldman had advised me to file a police report even if we pursued civil action. It creates an official record, she'd said, and sometimes the threat of criminal charges motivates settlement. So on a Wednesday morning, I drove to the police station. The building was gray brick and fluorescent lighting, smelling like coffee and industrial cleaner. I approached the front desk with my folder of evidence. I need to file a report for financial fraud. The officer, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense expression, looked up. Against who? My parents. Her expression shifted, not dismissive, sad. Come with me. She led me to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. I sat down and told her everything, showed her the documents, the trust fund records, the transfers, the invoice. She listened without interrupting, took notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me. How old are you? 23. And they did this while you were in college, while you were struggling financially. Yes. She shook her head slowly. I have kids your age. I can't imagine doing this to them. She picked up the trust fund statement. This is trustee fraud, clear as day. I'm going to file this report and forward it to our financial crimes unit. Will anything happen? Depends on the DA, but you'll have an official case number. That matters. She processed the report, case 2025-4471, handed me a copy. Good luck, son. I hope you get justice. I left the station with the report in my folder and a strange lightness in my chest. It was real now, official, on record. My parents had committed fraud, and the police knew it. Over the next week, my support system expanded in unexpected ways. My grandmother called. She'd somehow heard about the situation, probably from a gossiping relative. Kieran, sweetheart, is it true, about the trust fund? Yes, Grandma. Silence, then, I'm so sorry, I didn't know if I'd known. It's not your fault. I'm on your side, whatever you need. Aunt Donna texted, Your mom won't talk to me, but I believe you, you're not alone. Even distant cousins reached out. People who'd watched the favoritism for years but hadn't said anything. Now, with evidence and police reports, they felt safe to acknowledge it. Jordan's family basically adopted me. His mom coached me through legal preparation. His dad, an accountant, helped me organize the financial evidence into court-ready formats. By the end of 3 weeks, I had 47 pages of documented evidence, email records spanning 4 years, bank statements proving the trust fund theft, a police report with case number, witness statements from 3 relatives, a financial comparison spreadsheet that made my lawyer smile like a shark. Claire Feldman reviewed everything in her office. "This is airtight," she said. "They can't wiggle out of this." "When do we file?" "As soon as you're ready." I thought about the invoice sitting in my email, the empty chairs at my graduation, the 18 months of watching Rachel get everything while I got nothing. "I'm ready." Claire nodded. "Then let's make them answer for what they did." The decision came to me at 3 in the morning, staring at my ceiling while the evidence folder sat on my nightstand like a loaded gun. The annual family reunion, August 12th, 4 weeks away. Perfect. My grandparents hosted it every year at their house. The whole extended family came: aunts, uncles, cousins, second cousins, family friends who'd known us since childhood. 60-plus people gathered in the backyard under white tents, eating barbecue and pretending we were a functional family. This year would be different. This year, everyone would see the truth. I called Jordan the next morning. "I'm doing it at the reunion." "Are you sure? That's a lot of people." "Good, they all need to know." Silence on the other end, then, "Okay, what do you need?" "Film it, everything, from the moment I start talking." "Done, what else?" "Your mom, can she be there to serve the legal papers immediately after?" "I'll ask her." Claire Feldman agreed within an hour. Public exposure plus immediate legal action. Smart strategy. Over the next 3 weeks, I prepared like I was going to war. I printed the evidence, every bank statement, every email, every screenshot. Organized them in a black binder with labeled tabs: trust fund theft, monthly transfers to Rachel, my financial requests denied, the invoice. I made copies, one for my grandparents, one for Aunt Donna, one for Uncle Mark, key allies who needed to see everything. I rehearsed my speech 14 times. Alone in my apartment, standing in front of my bathroom mirror, speaking to an invisible crowd. By the 10th run-through, I could do it without crying. By the 14th, I could do it with my voice steady and cold. Jordan came over the night before with his camera equipment. "You ready for this?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." He set up his gear on my kitchen table. 2 cameras, backup batteries, extra memory cards. I'll position myself near the back, wide angle to capture everything, zoom for reactions. Make sure you get their faces when I show the trust fund records. "I will." I looked at the evidence binder sitting between us. Tomorrow, I'd stand in front of 60 people and detonate a bomb in the middle of my family. Tomorrow, my parents would answer for what they'd done. Tomorrow, everyone would know. "Thank you," I said quietly, "for everything." Jordan reached across the table and gripped my shoulder. "You're the bravest person I know." I didn't feel brave. I felt terrified. But I'd learned something over the past month. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the thing that scares you because it's right. And this was right. I went to bed that night with my alarm set for 6:00 a.m. and the evidence binder packed in my car. The family reunion started at 2:00 p.m. By 3:00 p.m., my family would never be the same. The days leading up to August 12th felt like holding my breath underwater. Mom texted me Wednesday, "Can't wait for the reunion. Grandma's so excited to see everyone." Thursday, she sent a photo of Rachel's new car, another gift, $34,000. Caption: "Our girls deserve the best." I didn't respond to either message. Friday night, Jordan came over for a final run-through. "You have the binder." In my car, triple-checked. "Camera's charged." "Fully, and I have backups." Mom's meeting us there at 2:45. She'll stay in her car until you're done, then come in to serve the papers. I nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in my throat. Kieran, Jordan's voice softened. You can still back out. No one would blame you. I would blame me. He studied my face, then nodded. Okay, then let's burn it down. Saturday morning arrived with cloudless blue skies. The kind of perfect summer day that belonged in commercials for family happiness. I showered, dressed in khakis and a button-down shirt, wanted to look put together, credible. My hands shook while I buttoned the shirt. I ate toast I couldn't taste, drank coffee that sat like acid in my stomach. At 1:30 p.m., I loaded the evidence binder into my passenger seat. Jordan was driving separately with his equipment. The drive to my grandparents' house took 20 minutes. Every mile felt like an eternity. I parked 2 blocks away at 1:55 p.m., sat in my car with the engine off and the evidence binder in my lap. This was it. The point of no return. I could still drive away, pretend I'd gotten sick, avoid the confrontation. Live the rest of my life knowing I'd let them get away with it. I picked up the binder and got out of the car. My grandparents' house was exactly as I remembered. White 2-story colonial, wraparound porch, half-acre backyard where the reunion was already in full swing. I could hear laughter and music from the street. Jordan's car was parked across from mine. He got out, camera bag over his shoulder. Ready? No, let's go anyway. We walked up the driveway together. The backyard was packed, white tent over picnic tables, grills smoking with burgers and hot dogs, coolers full of drinks, kids running through a sprinkler. 68 people, I counted. 68 witnesses. Mom spotted me first. She waved, beaming. Kieran, you made it. She was wearing a sundress and oversized sunglasses, happy, confident. Rachel stood next to her, showing off her engagement ring to a cluster of ants. Dad manned the grill, laughing at something Uncle Mark said. They had no idea what was coming. Grandma hugged me. So good to see you, sweetheart. There's potato salad on the table. Thanks, Grandma. I need to do something first. Of course, honey. Mingle. I walked to the center of the tent. Jordan positioned himself near the back corner, camera ready. I set the binder on the nearest table. Pulled out my phone. Took one last breath. Then I tapped my glass with a fork until the backyard quieted. 68 faces turned toward me. Mom smiled expectantly. Rachel looked annoyed that I was interrupting her moment. Dad raised his eyebrows in mild surprise. I opened the binder. I need to tell you all something about my parents. The backyard goes silent, except for children's laughter in the distance and the hiss of the grill. 68 people stare at me. I hold up the first document, bank statement, Mom's name highlighted in yellow. My parents didn't just favor my sister Rachel over me, they committed fraud. Mom's smile freezes. Kieran, what are you? When I was baptized, my godparents set up an educational trust fund. Over 18 years, relatives contributed to it. By the time I turned 18, it held $23,480. I turned to the crowd. Aunt Donna's eyes are wide. Uncle Mark has stopped eating. That money was designated specifically for my education. My parents were trustees. They had a legal obligation to use it only for me. I hold up another document, transfer record. In August, 3 years ago, the start of my junior year, they liquidated the entire trust. All $23,480, transferred it to my mother's personal account. Mom stands abruptly. Her chair scrapes against concrete. This is a private family matter. 3 days later, they used my college fund to pay Rachel's grad school tuition. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Rachel's face goes pale. I didn't know. I'm sure you didn't. I look directly at her, but they did. I pull out the spreadsheet, the one Jordan and I made, the one that shows 18 months of disparity in brutal clarity. For 18 months after stealing my college fund, they gave Rachel $15,000 every month. That's $270,000 total, for her wedding, her apartment, her life. I hold up my phone, show the screenshots of my emails. In those same 18 months, I asked them for help 5 times: textbooks, a winter coat, a laptop for my thesis. Total amount requested, $2,200. My voice doesn't shake. I've practiced this too many times. They gave me $0, told me I needed to budget better, told me I was being irresponsible. Uncle Mark sets down his beer. Diane, Marcus, is this true? Dad steps away from the grill. His face is red. Kieran, you're taking this out of context. I have bank records, your signatures, the trust documents. There is no context that makes this legal. I pull out the final document, the one that makes Aunt Donna gasp out loud. The invoice. And then, after all of that, they sent me this. I hold it up, turn it so everyone can see. An invoice for my graduation party, $2,100, due in 30 days, for a party I didn't ask for. A party they insisted on hosting. The backyard erupts in murmurs. Relatives lean together, whispering. Mom's voice goes shrill. You're twisting this, we gave you an education. You stole my education fund and gave it to Rachel. Silence crashes down. Mom's mouth opens, closes, no words come out. I turn back to the crowd. My hands are steady now, my voice is ice. I worked 2 jobs in college, ate ramen for months, couldn't afford textbooks, graduated with $18,000 in debt, and the whole time they were funding Rachel's luxury life with money that was supposed to be mine. Grandma stands, her face is white. Diane, tell me he's lying. Mom looks at her mother. It's not, it's more complicated than. Answer me, did you take Kieran's trust fund? Silence. Diane. Mom's voice cracks. We thought Rachel needed it more. The backyard explodes. Aunt Donna, how could you? Uncle Mark, you invoiced your own kid. Cousins pull out phones, start recording. Rachel is crying. I didn't know. Mom, you said you saved for my tuition. We did. It'd save, we reallocated resources. You stole from your son. Grandma's voice cuts through everything. From my grandson. I pull out one more document, the police report. Case number 2020-54471, financial fraud investigation, filed 10 days ago. Dad's face drains of color. You went to the police. I went to the police. I went to a lawyer. And today, you're being served with a civil lawsuit for theft, fraud, and emotional damages. On cue, Claire Feldman walks into the backyard. Professional blazer, heels, carrying a leather portfolio. Every eye turns to her. She walks straight to my parents, holds out 2 manila envelopes. Diane Moss, Marcus Moss, you're being served. Mom doesn't take the envelope. It falls to the grass at her feet. Dad takes his with shaking hands. Claire's voice carries across the silent yard. You have 30 days to respond. My client is seeking full restitution of the stolen trust fund, repayment of the fraudulent invoice, and damages for emotional and financial abuse spanning 18 months. She turns and walks out. The backyard is chaos now. Relatives shouting, Rachel sobbing, Mom trying to explain to anyone who will listen. No one's listening. Grandma walks over to me, tears stream down her face. She pulls me into a hug. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I didn't know, I should have known. It's not your fault, Grandma. I'm on your side, whatever you need. Aunt Donna is next, then Uncle Mark, then 3 cousins. A line forms. People I thought might defend my parents instead stand with me. Mom watches it happen, watches her family choose me. She tries one last time. Kieran, please, can we talk about this privately? No. I'm your mother's. You invoiced me, you stole from me, you chose Rachel over me for 18 months while I struggled to survive. My voice finally breaks. You stopped being my mother the day you emptied that trust fund. I pick up my binder. Jordan appears at my shoulder. Got everything, he murmurs. We walk toward the driveway. 30 people follow us, offering support, asking how they can help. Behind us, Mom sobs. Dad stands frozen by the grill. Rachel sits alone at a picnic table, staring at her hands. The perfect family reunion, destroyed. But it was never perfect. It was just prettily packaged lies. And I'd finally told the truth. That night, my phone exploded. Jordan's footage had already spread. Someone at the reunion posted their own video to TikTok. By midnight, it had 340,000 views. The family group chat, the one that had ignored my scholarship announcement, had 89 unread messages. I scrolled through them. Aunt Donna, I can't believe Diane and Marcus did this. Uncle Steve, there are two sides to every story. Cousin Tyler, I saw the bank statements, there's only one side. Mom tried damage control. She sent a mass email to all the relatives at 11:00 p.m. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Kieran took things out of context. We love both our children equally. She attached the invoice as proof we'd been helping him plan his party. It backfired spectacularly. By morning, 12 relatives had texted me privately with support. 3 offered money. Grandma called at 6:00 a.m., crying. I'm cutting them out of my will, I mean it. Grandma, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Claire Feldman filed for a restraining order that afternoon. Temporary no contact. 30 days. Mom violated it within 6 hours. 17 missed calls, 8 voicemails. I didn't listen to any of them. The lawsuit was filed on a Tuesday morning in late August. Claire Feldman walked into the courthouse with me, carrying 2 briefcases full of evidence. The filing fee was $435. She paid it. You'll get it back when we win, she said. Not if when. The civil complaint listed 3 causes of action: trustee fraud, unjust enrichment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We were seeking $27,680 in damages, the stolen trust fund, the invoice amount, and $2,100 in emotional damages. My parents had 30 days to respond. They hired an attorney, Michael Sullivan, a family law specialist who charged $400 an hour. His first move was to file a motion to dismiss, claiming parents had discretionary authority over family finances and that I was being vindictive and ungrateful. The motion was denied within a week. Judge Patricia Reeves read the trust documents and the bank statements. Her written order was 2 pages of legal language that boiled down to, "Are you kidding me with this?" Discovery began in September. Claire subpoenaed every bank record my parents had. Checking, savings, credit cards, investment accounts. We found more than we'd expected. The $270,000 to Rachel was just the beginning. Over 5 years, they'd given her $380,000 total, down payment on a condo, car payments, credit card debt paid off twice, a business investment that went nowhere. In those same 5 years, they'd given me $0. Claire added it to the evidence file. My parents' attorney tried to argue that gifts to adult children were discretionary, but the trust fund was different. The trust fund had my name on it. The trust fund was legally designated. And they'd stolen it. The deposition was scheduled for November. I sat across a conference table from my parents for the first time since the reunion. Mom's eyes were red. Dad looked 20 years older. Their attorney asked questions. I answered with dates, dollar amounts, email timestamps. Clinical, factual. When it was Claire's turn, she pulled out the invoice. Mrs. Moss, can you explain why you charged your son for his graduation party? Mom's voice shook. We were trying to teach him financial responsibility. By billing him $2,100 while transferring $15,000 monthly to his sister. Rachel needed help starting her life. And Kieran did. Silence. Claire slid the trust fund documents across the table. Did you believe you had the right to use Kieran's educational trust for Rachel's expenses? We thought it was family money. It was Kieran's money, designated for Kieran, and you spent it on someone else. Mom started crying. Dad put his hand over hers. Their attorney called for a break. In the hallway, Claire turned to me. They're going to settle, I guarantee it. She was right. The settlement offer came in December. They'd pay $25,000, full trust fund restitution plus the invoice plus $1,520 in good faith additional compensation. In exchange, I'd sign a non-disclosure agreement and drop the lawsuit. Absolutely not, I said. I want a judgment on the record, public. Claire smiled. That's what I told them you'd say. The trial was set for February. We never made it that far. In January, the local newspaper ran a story. Family lawsuit exposes trust fund theft. They'd found the court filings. The story went semi-viral in our county. Mom's real estate license was suspended pending an ethics investigation. Dad's accounting firm quietly asked him to retire early. Their attorney called Claire. New offer, $27,680, no NDA, full admission of wrongdoing in the settlement agreement. I took it. Not for the money, for the admission. The settlement was finalized on a Thursday afternoon in February. Judge Reeves read the terms aloud in open court. The defendants acknowledged that they misappropriated funds from the plaintiff's educational trust and used said funds for the benefit of another party. They further acknowledge that they caused the plaintiff financial and emotional harm. Judgment is entered for the plaintiff in the amount of $27,680, payable in monthly installments of $500 until satisfied. Mom cried through the whole thing. Dad stared at the table. I felt nothing, just a hollow kind of relief. The restraining order was extended. 3 years, no contact except through attorneys. Outside the courthouse, Grandma was waiting with Aunt Donna and Uncle Mark. They'd all taken the morning off work to be there. How do you feel? Grandma asked. Tired. You should feel proud. You stood up for yourself. I nodded. Proud wasn't the word. Vindicated maybe, or just done. Jordan drove me home. We didn't talk much. That night, I looked at the settlement check. $27,680, blood money. I deposited half into savings. The other half I donated to a scholarship fund for students from financially abusive families. The money didn't matter. The judgment did. On paper, in public record, my parents had admitted what they'd done. That was worth more than any amount they could pay. Family aftermath. The lawsuit split the family cleanly down the middle. On my side, Grandma, Grandpa, Aunt Donna, Uncle Mark, and 8 cousins. People who'd watched the favoritism for years and finally felt safe to acknowledge it. On their side, Uncle Steve, Mom's brother who believed family comes first no matter what. 2 elderly cousins who thought I was being disrespectful, and Rachel. Rachel tried to call me once, 3 months after the reunion. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I didn't know, Kieran. I swear I didn't know about the trust fund. I'm sorry. Maybe she didn't know. Maybe she did. Either way, she'd accepted $380,000 over 5 years while I struggled. She never questioned why, never thought it was strange. I didn't call her back. Holidays became complicated. Grandma hosted separate celebrations. Thanksgiving at 2:00 p.m. for my parents and Rachel. Thanksgiving at 6:00 p.m. for me and the family members who'd sided with me. Christmas was the same. 2 celebrations, 2 families. Mom tried to show up at my Thanksgiving once. Grandma turned her away at the door. The community consequences were swift. Mom lost her real estate license permanently. The ethics board ruled that someone who'd defraud their own child couldn't be trusted with client funds. Dad's early retirement became permanent unemployment. At 56, with a scandal attached to his name, no firm would hire him. They downsized, sold the house I'd grown up in, moved to a condo 40 minutes away. Why? Rachel's engagement ended. Her fiancé's family had seen the viral videos. They didn't want to be associated with that kind of family. I heard all of this through Aunt Donna. I didn't ask, but she told me anyway. Thought I should know. I didn't feel satisfaction. Just sadness for what could have been if they'd loved me as much as they'd loved the idea of Rachel's perfect life. It's been 3 years now. I'm 26, sitting in my apartment on the 23rd floor of a building downtown. 1 bedroom, floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of the city I earned myself. The settlement money helped, but it wasn't what changed my life. What changed my life was learning I deserved better. My credit score went from 580 to 712. Student loans refinanced at a better rate. I'll have them paid off in 4 more years instead of 10. I have a 6-month emergency fund. I've never had that before. Never had the security of knowing I could survive a crisis. I work at a nonprofit legal aid organization, $52,000 a year. After 14 months, they promoted me to case manager. I help people fight back against financial abuse, usually family members, always heartbreaking. Last month, a woman came in. Her parents had stolen her disability settlement, $45,000. She cried in my office, said no one would believe her. I showed her my case file. I believe you, and we're going to win. We did. That's what I do now. I turn my worst experience into someone else's fighting chance. Jordan graduated law school last year, passed the bar on his first try. He works at his mom's firm now. We still get coffee every Tuesday. You should be proud of yourself, he said last week. I'm trying. It's hard to be proud when you're still healing. I'm in therapy, have been for 2 years. Dr. Martinez helps me untangle the mess of anger and grief and guilt that comes with cutting off your parents. Because even though they stole from me, even though they chose Rachel over me for years, even though they invoiced me for my own graduation party, they're still my parents. And I still have moments where I miss them. Not who they are, who I wish they were. Holidays are easier now. I spend them with Grandma and Grandpa. Aunt Donna hosts Christmas. Uncle Mark does Easter. Last Thanksgiving, Grandma made my favorite pie, sat next to me at dinner, held my hand. You're the bravest person I know, she said. I'm dating someone, Morgan, a teacher. 25, kind, patient with my trust issues. We've been together 8 months. Morgan knows the whole story, read the court documents, watched the viral video. Your parents are idiots, Morgan said after reading everything. You're incredible. I'm not incredible. I'm just someone who refused to accept being treated like I didn't matter. My relationship with my parents is still non-existent. The restraining order expired last year. I chose not to lift the no-contact boundary. Mom sent a letter 6 months ago. I almost opened it, held it for 20 minutes, staring at her handwriting on the envelope. Then I put it in the shredder. I'm not ready. Maybe I never will be. Dad sent nothing. I think that hurts more. Rachel got married eventually. Someone she met through work. I saw the announcement on Facebook before I blocked her. I hope she's happy, I really do. But I also hope she thinks about where her happiness came from. About the $380,000 that funded her perfect life while I ate ramen in a cramped apartment. I hope she realizes she was complicit, even if she didn't know the details. The extended family has settled into the new normal. 2 separate branches, Mom's side and Kieran's side. Some cousins try to stay neutral, show up at both Thanksgivings. I don't judge them for it. But I also don't pretend everything is fine. I don't make small talk about my parents. I don't ask how they're doing. That bridge isn't burned. It was never built in the first place. Last week, I got an email from a stranger. She'd seen the viral video. Her parents were doing something similar, stealing her inheritance to fund her brother's lifestyle. How did you find the courage? She asked. I wrote back, I didn't find courage, I found evidence. And evidence doesn't need courage, it just needs light. She filed a lawsuit 2 days later. That's my legacy now, not the viral video or the court judgment. It's the people who saw what I did and realized they could do it too. Looking back, I don't regret the reunion confrontation. I don't regret the lawsuit. I don't regret any of it. What I regret is the years I spent making excuses for them. The years I convinced myself I was the problem. I wasn't the problem. I was never the problem. I was just a kid who wanted to be loved as much as his sister was. And when I realized that was never going to happen, I chose myself instead. 3 years later, I'm still choosing myself. I have an apartment I love, a job that matters, friends who show up, a partner who sees me. I have a life my parents didn't fund, didn't upward and can't take credit for. And that's the best revenge of all. Not the court judgment, not the viral video, not their ruined reputation. It's me thriving without them. Living proof that I never needed their money or their approval. I just needed to believe I deserved better. And now I do. If you're listening to this and you recognize yourself in my story, hear me, you're not overreacting. You're not being dramatic. You're not obligated to accept mistreatment just because it comes from family. Document everything, find your people, get legal advice. And when you're ready, choose yourself. Because the family that matters isn't the one you're born into. It's the one that shows up when you need them. My parents thought they could invoice me for my existence, and I'd just pay it. They were wrong. I sent them a different kind of invoice instead. One that came with a court judgment and consequences they'll live with forever. To everyone still fighting, your story isn't over. Your worth isn't determined by people who can't see it. Keep going, keep fighting, keep choosing yourself. This is Achiever Betrayed, and this is what happens when you refuse to stay silent.